the Kayfabe Crunch sleeps soundly thanks to Go to Sleep, the sleep tracker that helps you rest for an 8 count. Simply download the app, snap on the wristband, and plug all 22 orifice nodes into your body. Stop counting sheep and count the numbers that represent your terrible behavior patterns.
The Kayfabe Crunch. I'm better than news, and news know it.
No, hold off on the payment actually. I don't want my son back that bad. Good news! This is your Kayfabe Crunch for Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020. I'm Nicholas, Natural Selection. Coming up, we have all the latest from RAW. Plus, Bricayla Spotifee is here to give us the wrestling weather forecast for the next month. What a joy. But first, on this day in grappling history, in 1997, Stone Cold Steve Austin gave Vince McMahon a stunner for the first time. It would go on to become something of a cliche, but this first stunner really helped define a generation, as well as teaching many employees that it's perfectly fine to physically harm your boss. Do it now, do it today. And on that very same night in 1997, over on the other channel, Goldberg made his WCW debut on Monday Nitro. So this was a big night for the Monday Night Wars in both events and ratings. Contemporary Wednesday nights clearly need more people attacking the likes of Tony Khan, and for Pat McAfee to become a full-time NXT fixture. Don't you dare tell me that would be terrible. The numbers, they don't lie. Thanks for choosing this wrestling news podcast. We're the only podcast that respects the legitimacy of America's oldest sport. And that's in the history books. And now, let's get on with the Retribution-Reveal news. Top story, in plain sight. Retribution opened Raw, with the revelation that 5 of them had signed contracts with WWE. Making the dissenters a key part of the controlled establishment is actually a key step of riot control. Ask any conservative mayor from this past summer. This is all odd, right? As we recognize at least 4 of the members as part of the NXT roster. Dijakovic, Madden, Yim, Martinez, and we think possibly Thorne were all seen behind their half face masks. This story might actually break us. Together, they promised to drain the lifeblood from I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the picture of them here on the screen. It's really obvious who they are. Like, Mia Yim's mask barely covers her face. And Dijakovic can do his Bane cosplay all he wants, but it's quite obviously him. Oh, come on now. Do they really think we're You know what? It's fine. They're hiding their identities to protect themselves from any consequence with NXT, I suppose. They're obscuring themselves extremely poorly, but I guess their motive makes sense. The Hurt Business stepped up. No, I'm sorry, again, look, if that's the case, then why doesn't anyone at the commentary booth recognize them? Saxton and Phillips did NXT commentary this past summer. They all work together, so they must have... It doesn't make any sense, okay? That's why I'm struggling. In the main event, 3 members of Retribution, Mace, T-Var, and Slapjack. Okay, now, this is a joke, right? Someone's playing a silly trick. Slapjack? Slapjack, really? I guess if Slapjack hit a flapjack on New Jack, that'd be pretty whack. No, I can read it, it's fine. They accused the Hurt Business of extreme greed, and the main event ended in an all-out brawl between Retribution and the Raw roster. there's another thing I've just realized. Keith Lee has to go around backstage pretending he doesn't recognize his long-term partner. Yeah, Dominik Dijakovic. I can't believe that after the Firefly Funhouse and the Eye for an Eye match this summer, this is the story that breaks us. And now it's time for your fast count, the security guard through the windshield of news.
Seth Rollins suggests Aaliyah is not Rey Mysterio's daughter. Next week, Angie is expected to reveal she attended some freshman parties in Iowa.
The 30th G1 climax gets off to an orgasmic start as Ibushi dominates Okada and Naito pounds Tanahashi. The G1 Climax Triple X, presented by Bang Dream. Wrestling, not porn.
Randy Orton explains why ambulances are so important to him. The stipulation may be changed this week to the winner gets to f*** an ambulance.
The Atlantic Ocean briefly becomes 24/7 champion. However, R-Truth won it back 20 minutes later. So once again, we've been robbed of the classic Atlantic versus Pacific matchup we've all been waiting for.
Dabba-Kato loses to Braun Strowman in Raw Underground. 8 weeks of hyping up a monster, 1 week to bring him to his knees. Good job.
Aleister Black repeatedly rams Kevin Owens' nads into a ring post, more at 6.
Andrade and Garza become #1 contenders without Zelina Vega. So Vega becomes #1 contender without them. It's just your classic breakup story.
Bianca Belair to debut on Raw next week. Wait, hasn't she already debuted? Hasn't that already happened? I know it's been a wild year, but still, that definitely happened, right? And that's your fast count.
You've been counted out. Get that fixed before winter.
It's been a wild week in the world of wrestling weather. So, his influencer turned amateur meteorologist, Bricayla Spotifee, with the latest.
Yes, it's been a crazy time across the United States when it comes to, the weather or whatever. But the wrestling world has been impacted the most. That's just science. If we take a look at the sea graphs now, we can see Hurricane Rana's moving in from the northwest at a rate of 619 per 3 count. Advice from the so-called experts is to evacuate the canvas on Tuesday night and hide under the ring, much like Hornswoggle or a rogue Bella. Now let's look to the cities. Earthquake and typhoon have been spotted on the eastern seaboard. But these natural disasters don't pose the same threat they did in 1992, which was like a million years ago. It's honestly gross to think about any year that doesn't start with the number 2. Kane has been spotted out in LA, but he's showing no signs of slowing down anytime soon. Experts say The Undertaker will need to come out of retirement and defeat him in an Inferno match to finally put out the fires. Good luck. Now, if we take a look at the temperature win-loss records for the rest of September, we see highs of 99 at the dark border and lows of 5 at the inner Arctic Circle. Other than that, advice is to wrap up warm, but to make sure all of your clothes are tear-away, so you can surprise your opponent in the event of a sudden temperature change. And that's the weather in the wrestling world. Oh wow, I'm so good at this. I could do this full time.
I'm sure you could. Thank you, Bricayla. And there's just
My BFF, Shantasy, she became a weather girl and she got so good at it, 2 senators wanted to finger her.
at the same time. It does. JD, can you cut that? Can you? Yeah, we might actually lose the advertisers on that one. Yep, because of the fingering. Yep. Thank you, as always, Bricayla.
Where do senators live?
And there's just time to remind you that it's okay to feel anxious about attending live events. Being cautious during a pandemic is never a bad thing. And don't you dare be shamed into thinking otherwise, no matter how good that season ticket deal is. But do consider supporting your local independent wrestlers by buying their merch, so that we'll still have independent wrestlers around when the world returns to normal. In 2027 or whenever that is. Join us Saturday when we'll ask, has Huskus already eaten the walrus? And remember, you can support this podcast by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. You don't have to give us any money, just 2 minutes of your precious, valuable, ever-depleting time. This has been the Kayfabe Crunch, your not quite daily, not quite news bump for the world of professional wrestling.
The Kayfabe Crunch sleeps soundly thanks to Go to Sleep. Back in the old days, people had the privilege of knowing how to sleep properly. Now, you need Go to Sleep to help guide your sleep experience. Try our free version today. It's exactly the same as our premium platform, except for tiny advertisements in your dreams. Every 5 minutes.
The Kayfabe Crunch.